everybody. Today is Monday, November the 20th, and you are watching FCN Prime News. I'm Trezene, your anchor for tonight, bringing you your news from a perspective that matters to you. As always, we are simulcasting live on Facebook and YouTube. Always happy and hello to everyone who is watching, no matter where you may be watching. With that said, we're going to go to this first line. I want you guys to subscribe to our YouTube channel, okay? No matter where you're watching, stop what you're doing and go to YouTube. You won't miss out on any of the episodes on any show that we have on the Fifth Column Network when you subscribe to YouTube. It's really easy. If you're already watching us on YouTube, hit that subscribe button for me. And if you're watching this on Facebook or maybe a live link on Twitter, just click the URL that's in the video caption. It will take you directly to our YouTube page. Don't worry about missing any stories on Prime News because the link will take you right where you left off. Just please hit subscribe. All right, y'all ready for this news? I'm ready for this news. We've got quite a bit for y'all today. So let's get to this very first story. Charles Manson, the 1960s cult leader whose followers committed heinous murders that terrorized Los Angeles and shocked the entire nation, died on Sunday of natural causes, according to the California Department of Corrections. He was 83 years old. Manson orchestrated a wave of violence in August of 1969 that took the lives of 7 high-profile people, if you will. It spawned headlines worldwide and landed him and his Manson family of followers in prison for most of the remainder of their lives. Using these killings, Manson hoped to start a race war and had hoped that the Black Panthers would be blamed for these killings. Oh, how times do not change. Manson was originally sentenced to death, but the death penalty was briefly abolished in the state and his concurrent sentences were commuted to life in prison. He served 9 life terms in California prison and was denied parole 12 times. In our next story, this is going really slow today. The woman who alleges that Alabama Senate candidate Roy Moore abused her when she was about 14 years old has gone on national television and told her story. Leah Korfman, who is now age 53, told NBC News that Moore, then a 32-year-old prosecutor, seduced her at his house in 1979. Korfman originally told the Washington Post how she was approached by Moore outside of a courthouse in 1979. She had been sitting with her mother on a bench awaiting a child custody hearing in her parents' divorce case. Her mother, the newspaper reported, was delighted when the assistant district attorney Moore offered to sit with her daughter outside to spare her having to listen to the court proceedings. In the coming days, Moore allegedly picked up Korfman around the corner of her house and drove her to his house in the woods, where he sexually assaulted her, the newspaper claims. Korfman told NBC's Today Show, "Well, I wouldn't exactly call it a date. I would call it a meet. At 14, I was not dating, and at 14, I was not able to make those kind of decisions. I met him around the corner of my house. My mother did not know, and he took me into his home. After arriving at his home on the second occasion, she says he basically laid out some blankets on the floor of his living room and proceeded to seduce her, as she said, I guess you would say. She alleged that he removed her clothing and stripped to his white underwear before molesting her and trying to get her to touch him. At that point, she says she pulled back and said, I'm not really comfortable. I got to get dressed. And then she said he took her home. That's what she told reporters. But she says, I was a 14-year-old child trying to play in an adult's world, and he was a 32-year-old man. The age of consent in Alabama is 16 years old. Roy Moore, however, still denies the allegations and says he doesn't even know Ms. Korfman at all. On our next story, a TV host and sports broadcaster has accused Senator Al Franken, a Democrat from Minnesota, of kissing and groping her without her consent. Leanne Tweeden accused Franken of groping her without her consent while she was asleep and provided a photo of evidence. The incident happened in December of 2006, she said, when she and Franken, then a comedian, were on a USO tour to entertain the troops. It wasn't until I was back in the U.S. and looking through CD of photos that we were given by a photographer when I saw this one, Tweeden wrote about the photo on a local network. I felt violated all over again. I felt embarrassed. I felt belittled. I felt humiliated, she wrote. How dare anyone grab my breasts like this and think that it's funny? Tweeden wrote that Franken, who was the headliner on the tour, had written some skits as well and told her that he had a part for her in the skit, adding that she agreed to play along. She said, when I saw the script, Franken had written a moment when his character comes at me for a kiss. I suspected what he was after, but I figured I could turn my head at the last minute or put my hands over his mouth to get more laughs from the crowd, she wrote. However, she says, Franken was pretty pressed on doing this rehearsal. On the day of the show, Franken and her were alone backstage going over the lines one last time, and he said to her, we need to rehearse this kiss. I laughed and ignored him, but then he said, no, relax. This isn't SNL. We don't have to rehearse this kiss. She said at that moment, Franken continued to insist, and she got uncomfortable, and he repeated that actors really must rehearse everything and that we must rehearse and practice this kiss. She said, okay, so he would stop badgering her. She said that we did the line leading up to the kiss, and then he came at me, put his hand on the back of my head and mashed his lips against mine and aggressively stuck his tongue in my mouth, she wrote in her statement. She said she immediately pushed him away with both of her hands against his chest and told him if he ever did that to her again, that she wouldn't be so nice about it the next time. She said she felt disgusted, she felt violated, and she added that she didn't tell anyone what happened at the time, but she says she was angry. She said she wouldn't want anyone else to ever experience something like this, where she's fallen asleep on a plane, and then it wasn't until the next day where she saw the photo of him groping her that she told her husband what happened and showed him the photo. She said, I wanted to shout my story out to the world with a megaphone to anyone who would listen. But even as angry as I was worried about the potential backlash and the damage going public, the damage I might have on my career as a broadcaster, she wrote. But that was then, and this is now, and I am no longer afraid. She says that she is sharing her story because there may be others. Of course, there's others. I want the days of silence to be over forever, she also wrote in her statement. Franken, in a statement, has apologized for his actions, saying the following. I certainly don't remember the rehearsal for this skit in the same way, but I send my sincerest apologies to Leanne. As to the photo, it was clearly intended to be funny, but it wasn't. I shouldn't have done it, he said in his apology statement. Tweeden's comments come amid increased reports of sexual harassment in the workplace, including on Capitol Hill, not just in Hollywood. Multiple women in Congress have come forward to say that they too have been victims of sexual harassment, prompting lawmakers to call for reform as well. Representative Jackie Speier, a Democrat from California, said Tuesday that the House has paid $15 million in harassment settlements over the last decade through a spokesperson who later clarified that that figure doesn't just only account for sexual harassment claims, but the dollar amount indeed is accurate. She said at a Tuesday hearing that 2 current members of Congress, 1 Republican and 1 Democrat, have been accused of sexual harassment. That's crazy. In our next story, on the topic of sexual assault, with all the sexual assault that's going on in our nation right now being unveiled, Megyn Kelly and Suzanne Summers decided to joke about marital rape on Megyn Kelly's morning show, and they got dragged by social media. Summers and her husband, Alan Hamill, appeared on the morning show Megyn Kelly Today to discuss Summers' new book, Two's Company. Kelly called the book a, quote, virtual how-to guide for how to stay in love and in lust, unquote. The interview was already a bit awkward as Summers and Hamill were discussing having sex on bubble wrap. Unfortunately, The interview did get worse. After Summers bragged that the couple has sex every day, she said, "Sometimes I'm not even awake for it though." The live audience laughed. Kelly pointed to Hamill and said, "Alan's like, those are some of the best times." Summers responded with a short anecdote about a friend whose son who is a trial lawyer in Canada and is working on a marital rape case. She then, at that moment, according to Summers, she said her friend told her that in Canada, it's illegal to have sex with your wife if she's not awake. She then nudged her husband and said, he would be in jail if that were the case in the United States. Unbeknownst to her, marital rape is illegal in all 50 states. Summers has apologized for her comments, saying that she is, quote, deeply sorry, unquote, and carried the joke too far. She continued saying, "Non-consensual sex is a serious and far too common issue. I am fortunate to be in a deeply loving relationship with my husband, one built on mutual respect and trust," Summers said. "If the last few months have taught us anything, it's that way too many women and men have seen the dark side of sex, and I need to be a little more sensitive to this." She said, "I am sorry." I want to repeat one line in Summers' apology. She said, "Non-consensual sex is a serious and far too common issue." She said, "I am fortunate to be in a deeply loving relationship with my husband, one built on, quote, mutual respect and trust." And I sense that she's saying there might be a need for a conversation on sex and what consent is and what consent is not and what it looks like, because this seems to be quite confusing what consent is and what it requires in this nation. In other news, white nationalists have been hit in the Twitter verification purge, and white nationalist Richard Spencer and Charlottesville white supremacist rally organizer Jason Kessler are among the Twitter accounts that have lost their verified status as the social media company changes up who is entitled to that blue check mark. Twitter said Wednesday it is reviewing verified accounts with the goal of removing verification from accounts that violate its policies, such as promoting hate speech or violence or harassing others. New guidelines say that Twitter can remove verification at any time without any notice, and it will consider behavior both on and off the social network. The move follows a public outcry over Twitter verifying Kessler's account. The company says that it has completely stopped verifying accounts for the moment while it overhauls its verification process. After the death of Heather Heyer in Charlottesville, Kessler tweeted that she was a fat, disgusting communist whose death was payback time. Jeez. Accounts that are not verified can still post tweets and participate in conversations on Twitter. We all know that. But for years, Twitter has verified accounts belonging to persons of, quote, public interest, such as celebrities, journalists, and politicians. It has maintained that verification is intended to authenticate someone who they say they are and isn't intended to be an endorsement of that person or what they're saying. But having a verified account on Twitter has become a status symbol that confers perks, such as appearing at the top of Twitter searches. And Twitter has looked at that and it says verification has long been perceived as an endorsement. Twitter has said in a series of tweets on Wednesday, this perception became worse when we opened up verification for public submissions and verified people who we in no way endorse. Kudos to Twitter for finally making that move. In our next story, over in Washington, D.C., the FCC plans to vote to overturn U.S. net neutrality rules in December. Sources say that the head of the Federal Communications Commission is set to unveil plans next week for a final vote to reverse a landmark 2015 net neutrality order, barring the blocking or slowing of web content, two people briefed on the plan said. In May, the FCC voted 2-1 to advance Republican FCC Chairman Ajit Pai's plan to withdraw the former Obama administration's order reclassifying internet service providers as if they were utilities. Pai now plans to hold a final vote on the proposal at the FCC's December 14th meeting, the people said, and roll out details of the plans next week. Pi asked in May for public comment on whether the FCC has authority or should keep any regulations limiting internet providers' ability to block, throttle, or offer fast lanes to some websites known as paid prioritization. Several industry officials told Reuters that expect Pi to drop the specific legal requirements that retain some transparency requirements under the order. Internet providers including AT&T, Comcast, and Verizon say ending the rules could spark billions in additional broadband investment and eliminate the possibility a future administration could regulate internet pricing. Critics, however, say that the move could harm consumers, small businesses, and access to the internet by the ability to block, throttle, or provide fast lanes. In our next story, in other digital news, Bitcoin hits record high after smashing through $8,000 for the first time, a level for the first time over the weekend, marking an almost 50% climb in just 8 days. The new high came after leading payments company Square Inc. said last week that it had started allowing select customers to buy and sell Bitcoins on its Cash app. Bitcoin traded as high as $8,197 on the Luxembourg-based Bitstamp exchange, up over 2% on the day and around 48% up since dipping to $5,000 on November 12th, an eightfold increase in the value of the volatile cryptocurrency since the start of the year has led to multiple warnings that the market is in a bubble, and institutional investors are broadly staying away. Retail investors, however, as well as some hedge funds and family offices, are piling into the Bitcoin market. The market cap of all cryptocurrencies hit an all-time high of over $242 billion on Monday, according to the trade website CoinMarketCap. Right. In international news, the teleprompter is just going hella slow. German Chancellor Angela Merkel's attempt to put together a previously untried government with two smaller and ideological diverse parties has completely collapsed. Germany's elections on September 24th left only two politically plausible combinations with the majority in parliament, and a breakdown of coalition talks Sunday nights appears to have removed one of those, a coalition of Merkel's conservative Union bloc, the pro-business Free Democrats, and the traditionally left-leaning Greens. On Monday, the center-left Social Democrats, Merkel's partners in the outgoing government, said that they won't budge from their refusal to enter into a new Merkel administration. Yikes. Christian Lindner, the leader of Germany's Free Democrats, has defended his decision to end talks on forming a coalition government with Chancellor Angela Merkel's conservative bloc and the Greens, saying it compromises the needs that have gone against the pro-business party's fundamental principles. Lindner told reporters Monday that his party had attempted compromises, but still found suggestions over its key topics of migration policies, financial issues, and education too far removed from the change in policies that Germans voted for in the elections. Germany's president is urging his country's political parties to reconsider their positions and make it possible to form a new government, because a minority government or new elections are the only options left available to them. President Frank-Walter Steinmeier, who would have to decide on those options, said he will meet the various parties this week and urge them to rethink the collapse in the talks. Steinmeier said there would be incomprehension and great concern inside and outside of our country, and particularly in our European neighborhood, if the political forces in the biggest and economically strongest country in Europe, of all places, didn't fulfill their responsibility. In Asia, North Korea's leader Kim Jong-un is disciplining the leadership of his country's most powerful military organization, the latest sign of his efforts to tighten his grip on party elites and the armed forces amid a nuclear standoff with the United States, South Korea's main intelligence agency said on Monday. During a closed-door parliamentary briefing on Monday, South Korea's National Intelligence Service told lawmakers that the North's General Political Bureau was being audited by the country's leadership for the first time in 20 years. The military organization's director, Vice Marshal Hwang, and his deputies were punished, according to lawmakers who briefed reporters after the session. The intelligence agency did not reveal how it obtained this information, but it did not use the phrases purge or execution, indicating that Vice Marshal Hwang was reprimanded but may still hold his job. He has not been seen in public, however, since October 13th, according to the South Korean news media, which monitors the North state-run outlets. A reminder that October 14th was more than a month ago. Vice Marshal Hwang has survived a series of often bloody purges that Mr. Kim has engineered to consolidate his authority since taking over the dynastic regime after the death of his father, Kim Jong-il, in 2001. He has emerged as one of two of Mr. Kim's closest allies. I hope that Mr. Hwang is all right. In Argentina, the Argentina's Navy is saying that its San Juan submarine has been missing since Wednesday after it reported a mechanical breakdown in its last communication. The submarine, with 44 crew on board, disappeared 267 miles off the Argentine coast, and no trace of it has been found. The vessel surfaced, and it reported a breakdown. Naval Commander Gabriel Galazzi, said he did not give further details on the nature of the breakdown, but they have not had any announcement of where that submarine is. The Navy also announced on Monday that 7 signals picked up on the weekend were not from that missing submarine satellite phone. The failed calls, lasting between 4 and 36 seconds, had been received on Saturday. They had raised hopes that the San Juan's crew members were alive, but again, they've determined that that did not come from the missing submarine. A huge search and rescue operation is continuing in the South Atlantic. Specialist underwater rescue equipment has arrived in Argentina from the United States, and more boats and planes have also joined the search, which has been hampered by heavy winds and high waves. Great good luck to those searching for those 44 crew members who are on that submarine. With that, we're going to head to a quick commercial break, and when we come back, we'll have a few positive stories for you guys. Oh, come through? All right.
You had some comments.
Oh, okay. Let me see what they got.
Okay. Heather Walker stated that Roy Moore is disgusting, and then she further stated, when have you known white nationalists to be sensitive?
Never.
White nationalists are always sensitive.
I think they're snowflakes. I think they're the most sensitive.
That's the whole premise of their thing.
Yeah.
Sensitivity. No black people are taking over.
Is that the
right.
That's the good impression? That's the white nationalist impression?
Yeah.
I'll take that.
Yeah. Oh, the Chinese, they're building all the white man's railroads.
Jews will not replace us.
Oh, the Mexicans are murderers and drug dealers and rapists. And the Indians hate us for killing them all. Give me some more turkey.
Oh, great impression.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
That's my white nationalist.
That's your white nationalist?
That's my white nationalist.
I think it's good.
Thank you.
I don't think they would agree.
I hate that blackish son of a... You want to go to commercial now?
We're going to commercial.
Okay.
Announce it.
I said it already. We're going to commercial. FCN Prime News. I am your host, Tresnay, for just now joining us. Subscribe to our YouTube page and interact with us in the comments. We always want to hear from our viewers so that we can have a conversation online. Do we have more comments? No?
Yes. James Johnson II says, we're losing the country, man. We're losing the country, man. I think that's what he was.
That's funny. On the West Coast, California has become the first U.S. state to approve use of LGBT inclusive textbooks in their schools. The California State Board of Education approved 10 textbooks that include historical contributions of LGBT Americans for students in kindergarten through the 8th grade. The bill was written by former state senator Mark Leno, and according to the Advocate news site, it requires history and social sciences curriculums to teach about the accomplishments of queer people and people with disabilities. The board also rejected 2 books that did not include LGBT history because the lessons did not comply with the state's Fair Education Act of 2011. The books were published by Houghton Mifflin Harcourt and were rejected because they failed to address the sexual orientations of historical figures who were LGBT or widely speculated by historians to be LGBT. So they're trying to oust people who haven't been ousted or outed? That's okay. All right.
President Madison.
Such figures include Emily Dickinson, Walt Whitman, Ralph Waldo Emerson, Nathaniel Hawthorne, and President James Buchanan.
Oh, Buchanan!
There you go. See, he called it.
He was a dandy.
Oh my God. Though the publisher acknowledged the importance of the contributions of the LGBT community to American history, it did not make the changes necessary to be approved. HMH feels that the terms lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer are contemporary terms that may not map well on past lives and experiences, a representative for Houghton Mifflin Cortland said. In other news, travel news, I should say, a blogger is making travel more accessible for Muslim millennials. From an early age, Elena Nikolova seemed destined to become a world traveler. She was born in Bulgaria, raised in Greece, and a resident in the UK. She has long expressed a curiosity to learn about other cultures through her passion for travel. She's known under her pen name, Muslim Travel Girl. Nikolova now helps women and men around the world to achieve their own travel goals by advising on everything from the best halal restaurants in London to women's legal rights when it comes to wearing a hijab in the airports. Nikolova converted to Islam 7 years ago and started the blog in 2013 when she noticed a dearth of information specific to Muslim millennial travelers. Her blog comes at a time where it has become particularly fraught for Muslim travelers between a series of travel bans to the U.S. and frequent allegations of racial profiling in airports. When asked how she first became inspired to start this blog, she says, from a super young age, I was always inspired to travel, coming from a multicultural background. It's always a part of discovering yourself through the cultures and the people that you meet. Her blog is something that was made with millennials in mind. When asked why did she consider a millennial, she says that one of the excuses that I was hearing all the time was that traveling is so expensive and that you just can't afford travel. So it's about breaking those barriers. And she says actually 30% of her audience is non-Muslim and visit the site because they just like to hear a different perspective on traveling. She shares that there's unique challenges that Muslim women face when they're traveling abroad. Her blog seeks to try to help them navigate that. She says if you're a guy, a Muslim guy can look like any other guy out there. However, as a Muslim woman, you wear a headscarf and you automatically become a visible Muslim. And you start representing Islam and yourself at the same time. And living in the current situation where we live, Muslims are seen as being the root of all evil in a way. She says it can be very challenging, especially going through the airport. And a lot of women have had issues being asked to remove their head covering when in reality, they don't have to remove it. And so I help them navigate those kind of issues. She says it creates fear, it creates segregation, and it causes women to actually travel to countries that are only Muslim. And there are a lot of girls starting out now to travel to more non-Muslim countries, but because it feels more comfortable, usually Muslims just go to Muslim countries. And my blog seeks to help those to expand beyond those and to do that without fear. She says she receives hundreds of emails a week from girls that have traveled or families that have taken trips to places that they wouldn't consider otherwise. And she feels especially proud of that. Very good work to the Muslim travel blogger. Very good service that she's doing. In United States news, Halle Berry's ex has attempted to erase their daughter's blackness, and a judge has told him, you can't. Halle Berry took her ex and her baby daddy, Gabriel Aubrey, to court back in 2014 for attempting to alter their daughter Nala's looks to make her look more European and less black. They have had that hearing this week, and in her testimony, Halle, who is mixed race, both white and black, also revealed that Gabriel called her the N-word. According to Mail Online, Halle provided the court with a personal note that Gabriel had written her in which he did call her the N-word. The note was presented as evidence to support her claim that her baby daddy has some disdain for black Americans. The letter was also used to explain why he changed the texture and color of their daughter's hair to blonde. TMZ reported Halle was furious that Gabriel was straightening Nala's naturally curly hair, lightening it with highlights, because she is convinced it's because he doesn't want the girl to appear to be African American. Halle didn't show in court on that morning, but her lawyer Steve did, along with Gabriel, and after a lot of arguing with the judge, ruling neither Halle nor Gabriel could change Nala's look from its natural state. The documents revealed that judge said the racial epithet made by the petitioner, who was Gabriel Aubrey, was and is completely and totally acceptable. Nala is a child of both of these parents. Making this sort of comment about the Halle Berry affect the very core and being of the daughter Nyla. And when Aubrey attacked Halle Berry for what she is and who she is, he was attacking Nala as well, because Nala is a part of Halle Berry and Nala is a part of Aubrey. So when Aubrey did those things, it does serious damage to Nala, because he is attacking her core being of who she is. Wow, I can't believe the judge said that. Halle's testimony accused her ex of doing these things, the straightening of the hair texture and dyeing the hair. She says in a comment, I strongly feel that Gabriel's same underlying attitude is at the root in the changes which only he could have been causing to our daughter's hair. Berry told how she had secured scientific evidence to prove she is not delusional, as Gabriel has called her, about the extensive damage and changes to the texture of Nala's hair that she observed. She said, I was not willing to allow this to be a he said, she said dispute. She also noted, I continue to worry about the potential psychological and physical damage to Nala that can be caused by the use of chemical hair treatments and the psychological message that this conveys to Nala. And I implore the court to put a stop to Gabriel's attempts to alter our daughter's appearance, and most probably cause her to wonder why her natural appearance is not good enough for her father. Whew. According to one source close to Halle kept asking and asking about Nala's hair, and he kept denying that he did it. Halle then filed the court papers, and Nala's curls did come back. The judge ultimately ruled that neither Gabriel nor Halle can alter the natural texture, color of their child's hair. That's the part that I kind of raise an eyebrow, because since filing these papers, nobody can alter the child's hair, not even the moms. In the court documents, Halle Berry stated, I want both Gabriel and I to make decisions together that affect our daughter, her growth and development, and her general welfare in a positive way. Whew, goodness gracious. All right, in our final story for tonight, the FBI report on black extremists raises fears of targeting. An FBI report on the rise of black extremists is stirring fears of a return to practices used during the civil rights movement, when the FBI spied on activist groups without any evidence they had broken any laws. The FBI said it doesn't target specific groups, and the report is one of many of its intelligence analysts produced to make law enforcement aware of what they see as emerging trends. Major side eye. A similar bulletin on white supremacists, for example, came out about the same time. The 12-page report issued in August says that black identity extremists are increasingly targeting law enforcement after police killings of black men, especially since the shooting of Michael Brown in Ferguson in 2014. The report describes cases in which extremists had acted in retaliation for perceived past police brutality incidents. It warned that such violence was likely to continue. Black leaders and activists are outraged after foreign policy revealed the existence of the report last month. The Congressional Black Caucus, in a letter to the FBI, said this in the report. It conflates black political activists with dangerous domestic terrorist organizations and would further erode the frayed relationship between police and minority communities. Quote, I have never met a black extremist. I don't know what the FBI is talking about, said Chris Phillips, a filmmaker in Ferguson. Before the Trump administration, the report might not have caused such alarm. The FBI noted it issued a similar bulletin warning of retaliatory violence by black separatist extremists in March 2016 when the country had a black president, Barack Obama, and black Attorney General Loretta Lynch. But black voters overwhelmingly opposed Donald Trump, and they are suspicious of his administration, which has been criticized as insensitive on racial issues, including when Trump was slow to condemn white nationalist protesters following a deadly rally in Charlottesville, Virginia. Attorney General Jeff Sessions, a former Alabama senator whose career has been dogged by questions about race and commitment to civil rights, did not ease lawmakers' concern when he was unable to answer questions about the report or its origins during a congressional hearing this past week. Sessions said he was aware of groups that do have an extraordinary commitment to their racial identity, and some have transformed themselves even into violent activists. He struggled immensely to answer the same question about white extremists. It wouldn't be unusual for an attorney general not to have seen such an FBI assessment, which the FBI creates on its own to circulate internally among law enforcement agencies. I believe we might have a comment or a question.
Yeah, Heather Walker on Facebook says, is there an FBI report about extreme police officers targeting black men?
I doubt it. I highly doubt it. I'm sure that has been signed, sealed, and put away somewhere, double classified, never to be opened, maybe in 60 years like they did the JFK documents. And even when they do unseal it, it will be heavily redacted. That's probably what that is. Well, listen, y'all, that's all the stories that I have on my end. We are going to kick it over to Jayco Is It with your sports stories for today. Take it away, Jayco.
Come on, baby. This is Y2Jayco Is It with today's sports stories. Just the greatest sports analyst and announcer and news broadcaster of all time. At Jayco Is It, hashtag, yes he is. In our first story tonight, as you may have guessed, we're going to the WWE. Last night's Survivor Series was a pretty good pay-per-view. Had some ups, had some downs, but the ending sent the WWE as well as the Twitter world all abuzz. Triple H did a pedigree on his own teammate in order to get the win for Raw. Big man Braun Strowman didn't like that one bit, so he kind of whipped Triple H's ass. He choked the shit out of him. Yep, I said it. Triple H had real fear in his eyes, I believe. Braun was not impressed. He was not happy. Personally, I'm hoping it means he's going to leave the Raw brand to go to SmackDown. We shall see. We had WWE Creative _ish that said because, no matter what, Triple H wins. Is this your first time watching wrestling? Yeah, nobody should be surprised by that ending. Triple H's got to be all about him, right? Even if it damages the brand. People were mad, but, WWE, they always seem to spin something out of this. Just a hint, WWE, nobody really wants to see Triple H versus Angle. That's not a fight. No. That's not a fight people are waiting. We've seen it already when they were in their peak physical conditions at the prime of their careers. At this point, no thank you. I was just going to run over the results of that Survivor Series real quick because I did not get to be on Millions and Millions last night. So I'm just going to insert my own little bit here today. And you guys who watched last night, you can follow along at home who called it correctly. In the men's 5-on-5, as I just said, Team Raw defeated Team SmackDown with that Triple H betrayal. In the champion versus champion match, Brock Lesnar beat AJ Styles. Many feel like that was the match of the night. People were surprised that Brock put on that kind of a show. Yeah. In the women's champion versus champion match, Alexa Bliss actually lost to Charlotte Flair. I don't think anybody was surprised by that. Our tag team champions, Team Usos, defeated the Team Raw. I think they did discuss that last night, that match should not have been those two teams, but there it was. Usos won for SmackDown. SmackDown lost overall. I believe it was, well, I could count here, 4-2, I think.
No, it was 4-3.
It was 4-3. 4-3, yes. 4-3. Because the U.S. champ, Baron Corbin, beat the IC champ, The Miz. Yeah. I do believe, did Revolution call that one? Maybe not. I don't know.
I don't think so.
Oh, somebody called that one on that show last night.
Wilsonian.
The Wilsonian. Shout out to the Wilsonian for calling that match. The 5-on-5 women's, Team Raw beat Team SmackDown. And then in a non-Survivor Series, non-title match, we had The Shield defeat The New Day because, you know, we need Roman Reigns to be somebody. And in my next story, speaking of champions, LeBron James made an amazing discovery and an insightful comment. He said Kaepernick is being blackballed by the NFL. Oh, wait a minute. We've already discussed this. And Kaepernick has a pending lawsuit saying exactly this about the NFL. So I don't know why he decided that he was like, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and put that out there in case people were wondering if he was being blackballed or not. But hey, maybe you put the king stamp on it and everybody's like, yeah, that's right. I mean, I'm not going to play Bron. He's having an excellent season. He's beasting without anybody there to help him. Again, taking his game to the next level. But, you know, I just use this as an excuse to bring up the injustice of the fact that everybody's talking about NFL and Kaepernick, whereas his actual cause, blacks are being killed unfairly, being targeted unfairly by U.S. justice system. As Tresnay just pointed out, black terrorist groups, really, Black Lives Matter is someone we should be more scared of than Nazis. Anyway, and in our final news, sports story. It's a sports story, but it is a sports news story.
Sports news?
Yes, it is. It is new sports news.
Did we already in file?
My boo-bae, Serena Williams, released a heartfelt commercial with Gatorade talking to her young baby daughter, where she tells her, you don't have to play tennis, you don't have to do this, I will always love you, but these are the things that sports do. These are the character that it builds, the bonds that it builds, the strength that it builds. I loved it. People were all up in their feels. However, I feel like it's yet again an example of how a U.S. company exploits something like a mother's love for her child in order to sell their brand.
She exploited herself.
Right, what?
On the other side, which was my next point, why did Serena agree with this? I think it's because she married the wrong white man. If I was her husband, I'd have said, baby, you stand strong against this corporate oppression. Don't do it. There's other monies to be had, other commercials to be made. Let's put that commercial on FCN. And with that, we're going to go to a commercial break. When we come back, see, this was not too many stories today because sometimes you want to make the news, sometimes you want to be the news, sometimes you want to see the news. I want to see the news today. I'm ready for Revolution's story. Oh, yeah. I'm hyping it up, baby. I'm hyping it up. I can't wait. So we're going to go to commercial break. We'll be back with the pop culture revolution.
question needs to be yours on my place. Your chocolate skin, your chocolate skin. Turn the lights low, don't let me tell you again. I wanna put my mouth on your chocolate skin, your chocolate skin.
Well, welcome back again for the second time. This is the Revolution, and you are continuing to watch Prime News. You know, people, there's nothing more pleasing to the human existence than watching two titans go at it. There's nothing more than we as a civilization like than watching people bludgeon themselves repeatedly. There's nothing. We love when titans clash. All the way back in antiquity. How about Darius I taking Marathon from the Greeks? That was an epic battle. We all love that. Especially people back then. We love it. The Persians beating the Greeks. Made several films out of it, right?
Quite a few.
How about the Brits beating Napoleon at the Battle of Waterloo? That's pretty famous.
He wasn't expecting that one.
Not at all. We still make jokes about it. Or good old America's favorite, apple pie. Grab a lady in the middle of Times Square, bend her over and kiss her. He bent her over, right? When we stormed the beaches of Normandy with the Allied forces to push back and ultimately vanquish the Nazis' Third Reich. Those were epic battles. Those make history. We loved reading about them. We love educating ourselves about them. The modern era replaced those type of epic battles with prize fighters. Are there any big fights in recorded history better than Ward Gotti? Are there any fights better than Duran and Sugar Ray Leonard?
Not too many.
Well, how about Muhammad Ali and Joe Frazier 3? Is there any fight bigger than that?
Thriller?
Oh, people love it. And you know what that does in this modern era? We have coined the term, especially you just did stories on wrestling, and we like to say now that everything has a big fight feel. And you know what? I want to adopt the big fight feel for something that I love.
Do it.
I love comics. You know what comic company I love the most?
I'll hazard a guess.
You hazard a guess? What? Would it be DC Comics? How about you,
DC,
J.
yes,
Cole?
I'd
You would
say
say
DC.
DC? I mean, you know, on my desk, I don't know if people know this, but this is my mouse pad. This is my mouse pad. This big Mama Jamma here is my mouse pad. I just wanted people to know. And you see this shirt here. On my set here, how many pieces of DC accoutrement do I have up here?
Quite a bit
Quite a bit
of accoutrement.
of accoutrement. Correct? So here's the thing that I want to say. No bigger fight lined up in this world than DC versus Marvel.
Oh, yeah.
That has been historically the biggest fight of two publishers. And ladies and gentlemen, DC in 2013 started to train themselves in order to take the heavyweight championship from none other than the champ, Marvel. What did they do? They went out there and they gave us 2013's Man of Steel. Oh, yeah. $225 million. It's tentpole of its cinematic universe, which is all the rage right now in Hollywood. Everyone wants to have extended universes. Good or bad, they want them. DC said, hey, we have probably the best property known to man. The most iconic characters. Mm-hmm. We're going to put our cinematic universe in the ring. And who bigger, who better to represent us than Big Blue himself, Superman? So they give us Man of Steel, $225 million. How'd that do?
Quite well.
It did well. It did well. Critically and financially.
Yep.
Would we say that it was the bout that we were looking for to say, yes, this is, yes? Well, I would say no.
Definitely not.
I would say no. However, the first blow for DC was landed. And recently, as of this weekend, DC decided to take their biggest swing yet in the title match itself against Marvel Comics Cinematic Universe with their entry of their team up, the Justice League. And, well, in the immortal words of the great Negro poet character, DC, you just got knocked the fuck out.
Cold.
Ice cold. DC released this weekend the Justice League. And it did not fare well by critics. And it damn sure did not fare well by the box office receipts. It made $96 million at the box office.
Yeesh.
And people out there are saying, how? No, people are saying, how? I'm one of them.
Yeah.
Okay, I am one of them who said, how? You have the most recognizable characters in all of comic book lore. You have Superman, you have Batman, you have Wonder Woman. These are icons of this media. The A-listers. How did you lose? Let me tell you this. So there were a couple people out there. There were a couple things out there. These are some of the excuses that I've heard. Okay. Thor stole its shine.
Okay.
Thor's still out there. Thor made $21 million. Oh, it's Thor's fault. Oh, if Thor wasn't out there, that $21 million would have gone to DC's Justice League.
If Thor wasn't better than us.
Oh, they whined about Thor. Yeah, they did. Oh, here's another one. Here's the funniest one to me. There's a little picture out there called Wonder about a kid getting bullied because of a facial disfigurement. That stole our money too. That stole our shine. It took $27 million of the box office. Who knew it? Oh, poor Warner Brothers in DC. But here's one that I love. This is, to me, the tentpole argument. Okay? Here's the tentpole right here. There are two comments. For most of you out there that are watching me now who are adding me on Twitter at The Revolution. And I love it. Bring it. I eat all of your ats like PB&Js with a glass of strawberry milk. Here's the one I love. They literally blame Batman versus Superman.
What?
They blame Batman versus Superman. Here's one right here. I had a couple comments from Facebook, right? One of my great friends, my god brother is the guy. Rafael Martinez on Facebook. He's watching this right now because he wants to make sure that I quote him accurately.
Correctly.
I don't really care. I'm quoting him as it stands. No one should be surprised that this movie isn't making the 100 million. The brand as a whole is hurt. One Wonder Woman movie wasn't gonna fix that. Justice League is a transition film. This, at best, is aight. Wow. It's a transition film. Studio gave up. We're just using this to get to the next one. We don't really care. We're gonna spend $300 million to transition into our next picture because we don't really care. We're not happy, so we're gonna just transition out. That's what Raphael said. Here's what Dwayne Lloyd said on Facebook. Here's what he said on Facebook to go with that big fight feel scenario. Sometimes first punch wins the fight. I'm a DC fanboy. However, Marvel delivered the first punch in 2012. It would have been better if we had seen it JLA before the Avengers. Now we're going to blame timing. Now timing's the issue.
Right.
Timing is now the issue. How about my good friend Jason Williams? On Facebook, he also said people are scared after Batman versus Superman and Suicide Squad that it would be a disappointment. I've been listening to multiple reviews of my trusted reviewers on YouTube. I've heard it's flawed but good. Good entertainment with just a couple of issues. Just a couple. Just two issues. Just two little issues. Just a couple. But still worth the watch. Still worth the watch. So again, here we go back to Batman Superman. Here we go back to Suicide Squad. So timing. So another film. Transition. These are some of the issues that we're hearing about on social media. The other one that is very, very funny to me that I laugh at is the Rotten Tomatoes score.
Oh, right.
That you people out there are blaming a review site for the poor performance. I've even heard people go so far as to say that they're on the take for Marvel. I'm not going to quote anyone. I quoted the people who I asked could I quote, so I don't want nobody trying to give me any clappity claps. But there are receipts out there.
Wait, they're on the take.
That Rotten Tomatoes is on the take. Here's what's funny about that. Has anyone ever looked at the films that have poor ratings on Rotten Tomatoes that go on to have great financial success? Has anyone ever bothered to look that up? I'll give you two films that had poor ratings but had huge financial takes. The first one, Pirates of the Caribbean.
Oh, yeah.
Horrible rating. Horrible reviews. But boy, did that film rake in the cash.
Made some coin.
What was the excuse there for that? People liked it. They went out to see it. They had a good time. You know what other film people had a great time with watching? I thought it was a piece of steaming pile of metallic doo-doo. The Transformers. That film has awful reviews on Rotten Tomatoes, but they rake in the fabulous moolah. Not a dead female wrestler. They're not out there digging up and breaking it. That's not.
Moolah.
But fabulous moolahs and money. Shut up.
Can I bring up a quick point?
Yes, I love.
If you combine all the Rotten Tomato ratings for DC and Marvel, DC's are actually higher. So whoever wrote that on the take is, full of crap, and they don't know what they're talking about.
Full of crap. They're full of crap. DC has higher ratings on Rotten Tomatoes, go figure, versus Marvel. But why is that, though? Explain to everyone why that is, really quickly, if you
because a couple of trashy Marvel outputs called The Inhumans and Iron Fist helped to lower the score, as well as a couple really high-quality movies from DC, not theater movies.
Okay.
How about animated movies?
Ah, wow. So DC historically has had consistency in their output of content.
Yes.
Okay. And I believe that because I love their animated films and I love their television shows. The Flash is the highest rated.
Yeah, of all the comic TV shows.
TV shows, The Flash. Okay. So, here's what I want to say. Everyone has these issues, and I say that there are only two. There are only two reasons why the Justice League and DC are failing. I'm going to tell you, start right now, why Justice League failed. It was a rush to get to their team-up film, to get into the mix and duke it out with Marvel. But this is something interesting in my going ahead and getting all of this information together for you. I believe it's called research. DC, to its team-up, had 4 films, 2 solo and 2 team-up. So they had Man of Steel and Wonder Woman, and then they had Batman vs. Superman and Suicide Squad. Then Marvel had 5 films before the Avengers. So that's actually pretty comparable. It's not apples to apples, but it's damn close. It's like apples to cran apples. It's apples to cran apples. And when you put apples and cran apples, that's some good juice. That is some mighty good juice. But here's what I want to say about that. They rushed. They were thirsty. They were greedy. And they cut corners. DC said, hey, we're going to give you these 2 solo films. But hey, let's hurry up and give you all of these villains. Let's get you excited right now. Let's give you everything. Here, take them all right now in a mad dash to get to Marvel's amount of content. It's not going to happen, but they were trying. Then they cut corners again by giving us Batman v Superman. And they put their biggest 3 characters in a film in a mad rush to hurry up and get to the Justice League. Why do that? I still don't know why you do that. I don't know. But here's the other thing that I want to get to, because that's that. But here's the thing that gets me, that I really want to talk about. Here's what I want to talk about. You all asked for something that I don't think you had any clue what you were talking about. You all of you nerds, and a whole bunch of you posers and Johnny Gill come latelys and Joni Love Chachis. You all said, oh, I don't like DC's tone. It's too dark. They need to lighten it up. I like comedy. I want a hee-hee and I want a ha-ha. Because that's what I like when I go to the picture show. I want to have a good time. But you know what's funny about that? Did any of you soulless minions of mediocrity ever read a DC comic? Let's go really quick. Let me just do something really quick. Let's talk about origins. Let's talk about how some of these heroes became heroes in the DC universe.
Talk about it.
Okay. Hey, here's a guy. Here's a guy right here. Oh my God, this is gonna be good. This guy's mother was murdered. And then his father, he was sent to prison for his mother's death, where he stayed for many, many years. That's a knee slapper. Isn't that funny?
Yeah.
That's what you want for comedy, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, wait a minute. Wait. I think I got one even funnier. Wait till you hear this one, kids. Hey, a guy goes out to a picture show with his parents. They're leaving the old theater. They happen to take the back door because they're wealthy and they don't want to be bombarded with questions and a paparazzo. So they take the alleyway, and guess what happens? They're mugged. And those two parents are gunned down in the alleyway over dollars. And the kid watches. Oh! That's something for Def Jam. Def Jam comedy. That's high comedy. Oh, wait. I got the funniest one of all. This is like an Eddie Murphy joke. This is like Aunt Bunny falling down the stairs. Oh my God, Lord Jesus, help me, Lord, please help me. I'm falling down the stairs. This is like that kind of comedy. This is that funny. This is so funny. Here's one for you. I got a joke for you. An alien, whole existence is taken away from him, and his home world is blown straight to hell with his parents that he'll never meet in the flesh. He gets sent off to a planet he has nothing related to, where he must live out the remainder of his life serving its inhabitants as a slave to justice.
That's hilarious.
Oh, that's hilarious. Do you see what I'm saying here, people? Maybe you don't. Maybe the sarcasm has gone over your head. Up, and away. So I'll tell you this. These characters are born from darkness. The Flash, Batman, Superman. Dark. This is some really dark stuff. Have you people read? Have any of you ever read? What is this? Emerald Twilight. Have you read this? Have you read this? How Jordan tries to in this story. How Jordan literally tries to rebuild his home city, and then he becomes crazy with power and becomes Parallax, one of the greatest villains of all time in the DC universe. Oh, wait a minute. This is one of my favorites right here. This is Aftershock. This is after Gotham City gets hit by an earthquake. And in this storyline here, the wealthy elite are together at a party, and they're trapped. And for some reason, all the food is gone, and they begin to eat one another to sustain life. That's in the pages of Batman, ladies and gentlemen. That's some pretty dark. That's really dark.
You got some comments.
I got some comments?
Comments on YouTube. They was like, yeah, don't forget The Dark Knight was incredible. And then there's a quote. This is from AJ Mantis, who commented.
Yes, what's up, AJ?
He says, quote, none of you seem to understand. I'm not locked in here with you. You're locked in here with me.
Hey, and that's from the pages of a DC book. Thank you, AJ. Wait a minute. Hey, how about death? Superman got killed, and everyone lost their minds. Look at that death. That's pretty dark. That's pretty dark. You know, it was so dark that they had, count them, 8 issues, Funeral for a Friend. Here they go. They mourn this dude. And I don't remember any comedy, not one comedy in any of this. Hey, I got my back broke. Hey, I got my back broke and I was paralyzed. That's pretty dark. I don't remember too much comedy in here. Oh, Final Crisis. Lord Jesus. Has anyone read this? This is some dark stuff. I had to literally go in and get some books.
Yes.
To talk about this. So the tone. What are you talking about? DC is, this is why I love DC. As a child, I was tired of reading the characters of humanity, and always the lightness and the funny quips in Marvel. I wanted something with gravitas. So I became a fan of DC Comics and its darker tone. You guys should have never changed the course when you started with Man of Steel. Even with Batman v Superman, sure, there were problems, but I was a person that said, okay, let's smooth these out. Because guess who was a standout in that film? Batman and Wonder Woman.
Yes.
They cashed in on Wonder Woman. Oh, buddy. Did they cash in? They missed the boat, however, with Batman in Justice League. Like, that was not the same Batman. I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened with Batman from Batman v Superman. Ben Affleck was amazing in that picture. The tone. Here's something I want to ask you folks out there. All you good folks out there. I have a question for you. You all loved comedy in your comic book films. And you say that levity and the lighter tone is the way to go. But what happened with Spawn? Didn't John Leguizamo act a god-dang fool in that film? Wasn't that whole film him making fart jokes for about 70 minutes? Wasn't that it?
That happened.
Wasn't that funny to you people? Didn't you have a good time? Wasn't that fun? Then why wasn't it successful? See, here's the problem. You all are fickled mushheads. The same people that say, oh, it just had a few problems are the same people who ask for a lighter tone film. And you got it. And guess what's happening now? People are at Warner Brothers flipping over tables. There is anarchy at that studio. And guess what, people? This is what's funny. What's next for DC? I'll tell you. Ben Affleck is already talking about leaving. He wants out. He's out here saying, I want to do it in a cool way. I want to exit the franchise cool.
Yo.
You know what that means? He's going to be out of here before the filming of The Batman begins.
Definitely.
He's out of here. There's not going to be a cool way. He just said that so all you people out there won't feel so bad. Do you realize we're getting ready to have our 6th Batman?
Possibly Jake Gyllenhaal.
I'm not even going to mention that. I don't want Jake Gyllenhaal. And you know what? I wouldn't mind Jake, but we needed a younger Batman to start out with. The casting was wrong from the jump. Everyone else was young. We should have started a universe together, and the age of heroes, like they said, should have culminated together, and all the villains should have been birthed, and all the heroes should have been birthed, but I'm not going to talk about that. Ladies and gentlemen, DC, if you're listening, reboot now. Reboot. Stop. Do a soft reboot right now. Keep Gal Gadot and move forward. Do something with the Flash. Do something with the space-time continuum. DC, if you don't know this, people have done this several times already in their comic universe. One was called Crisis. The next was called 0 Hour. And then we got another one with the New 52 and then Rebirth. Listen, they are a mess. They have always been a mess. DC, please, for the love of Jesus, Henry, Joseph, Allen Christ, stop it. And you fans, stop being fickle mushheads, because you all have no idea of what you're talking about. Pick up a few books, read them, absorb them, then we'll talk from there. Ladies and gentlemen, human beings. I gotta stop the ladies and gentlemen. I have to address everyone as human beings. I am the Revolution. You've been watching Prime News. Thank you for your indulgence.
Hey y'all, it's Trezene here at FCN Prime News. Came back because has been breaking news. 8 women have come out to say that Charlie Rose sexually harassed them with pretty crude allegations of nudity, groping, and lewd calls. So much so that he's been suspended by CBS amid the allegations of the crude sexual advances. PBS said it will no longer distribute his show. These 8 women told the Washington Post that the longtime television host Charlie Rose made unwanted sexual advances toward them, including lewd calls, walking around naked in their presence, groping their breasts, buttocks, and the genitals. The women were employees or aspired to work for Rose at the Charlie Rose Show from the late 1990s to as recently as 2011. They ranged from age 21 to 37 at the time of the alleged encounters. Rose, who is 75, whose show airs on PBS and Bloomberg TV. He also co-hosts CBS This Morning and is a contributing correspondent for 60 Minutes. There are striking similarities in the accounts of the women, leading everyone to believe that they are true allegations. They describe their interactions with Rose in multiple interviews with the Washington Post. For all of the women, reporters interviewed friends, colleagues, or family members who said that the women also confided in them about the aspects of the incident, and 3 of the 8 women have spoken on record. Rose has made a statement on the issue. He says, "In my 45 years of journalism, I have prided myself on being an advocate for the careers of women with whom I have worked." He says, "Nevertheless, in the past few days, claims have been made about my behavior towards some of my former colleagues," and the rest of it is womp, 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 womp. Good luck to Charlie Rose. Again, breaking news, and I'm sure I'll be talking about this a little bit more on Thursday's episode of Prime News. Oh, wait, it's going to be Thanksgiving. Oh, it's Thanksgiving. Well, when we come back on the following Monday, I'll definitely have a story, and it'll be in depth. You got something to say? You pulling the mic? What's happening?
Pulling the mic?
Yeah.
That's going to be the title of my next adult production. It's going to be Pulling the Mic. One man in his quest to... Oh, wait. I can't do this after the Charlie Rose story. Can I?
No.
Nope.
It is FCN.
Well,
Charlie Rose.
Hey,
so
Charlie Rose is pulling the mic.
Charlie Rose
Yes.
is pulling the mic.
Oh, my God.
The comedy porn stylings. I'm going to write that. Put that on Very Ignorant Brothers.
Yes.
That goes
yes,
on
that goes with
Very
Very Ignorant Brothers. Yes, it does.
All right.
All right, with that, y'all, we will see you next time. If you didn't catch the 3 shows that aired live on FCN yesterday on Sunday, they are available on demand on our website, thefifthcolumnnetwork.com. We had a great Sunday edition where we talked about transracialism. Is that a word? I don't know. Transracialism. We talked about criminal justice issues, who gets to be the face of that, and we also talked about the movie Get Out and Jordan Peele. So you definitely want to see that. We had a great Millions and Millions where we talked about Survivor Series, and we had a great The Walking Dead pregame show. So go catch those on our website. Why are you making these faces? Oh, anyway, go catch these on our website, thefifthcolumnnetwork.com. We love y'all. Thank you for watching, as always, and we will see you next time.